The major commodity that has shown the increase are oilseeds and sugar. And the reason is simple. This is directly linked to the oil prices that has been going up. So both oilseeds and sugar for ethanol production are related to the energy markets. And that's why we are observing an increase. On the food commodities, the cereals, especially wheat, maize, and so on, we are not observing a significant increase. And the reason is because still the transmission of what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz on input sides is not yet transmitted into the production overall supplies, and we have good supplies of food at this point and good stocks of foods at this point. If we will continue to increase, and especially if we will move from oilseeds towards staple commodities, cereals, it will depend a lot on the situation that we are facing today and what will be the results for the next planting season. So the situation could stay the same, and we shouldn't be facing too much increases if the current conflict stops immediately. But if it continues, the food supply could be affected, and that will affect prices in the future. So then we will expect an increase in the commodity price. The math of what is happening is simple. We have 30% of the fertilizers moving across the Strait of Hormuz, 35% of oil moving across the Strait of Hormuz, between 20 to 25% of natural gas, and 45% of sulfur. All of these are essential inputs for the production of agriculture products. What that means is that if this continues and the Strait of Hormuz is not open for more than 30 or 40 days, then as we move in the crop calendar, between April and May, key exporting countries will have to make decisions. And that's where farmers will have to decide if they plant the same, if they plant less, the same with less inputs, if they move towards commodities that are have more capacity to fix nitrogen, or if they move part of their supply to biofuels. The countries that are most impacted by any increase in price of food will be the net food importing countries. How much they will impact it depends also on their income. Gulf countries, for example, are rich countries, so the prices could increase, they will be able to buy the same. They will pay a higher price. But countries that have debt stress, like many countries in Africa and some in South Asia, won't have that capacity. So the decision, if prices increase, of the food import bill is basically to buy less or to buy lower quality of commodities so that they can continue to have the food that they need. So yes, the most vulnerable will be affected. Right now, the impact also goes into the Gulf countries because they cannot import food, and also goes into Iran, where it's a self-sufficient country mostly, 20% is imported, but prices were already going up and now they have exacerbated. So those two regions of the world will be facing challenges immediately, but to the whole world, it will be the most vulnerable food importing countries, net food importing countries that will be impacted. We have learned a lot through COVID-19, through the war in Ukraine, and especially now, which is different to both of them. What we are recommending right now in the short term is to find any alternative routes to be able to move inputs. And for example, we can have what is happening right now between Venezuela, where the sanctions have been reduced, so that inputs can be imported from Venezuela, what is happening in other parts of the world to try to facilitate the mobility of these inputs. For sure, that won't resolve the problem, but there are possible ways to ameliorate that problem. Second, we are arguing that it's super important to monitor and bring information of availability of food. Right now, the impact is on inputs. It's not yet on availability of products. And it's important for the agricultural market information system to bring this information. Third, we need to be sure that we protect the most vulnerable. That's social protection. We need to put that in place. We learned that in COVID-19. And fourth, it's essential that we protect the logistic part of humanitarian response. That's a lesson learned, and we need to protect that they can keep moving because they depend a lot on transportation. In the long term, of course, we can always take this as an opportunity, and that means to increase resilience, and that means better infrastructure on storage capacity, better infrastructure on transportation. But also, something that we learned in the war in Ukraine is how we can diversify the inputs that we use and how we can use them more effectively. Still, we have not progressed too much on that. We progress on energy. We diversify the energy mix in the world. The impact now is lower than it would have been 10 years ago. With the new energy mix, the impacts are lower, but it's still high. But for fertilizers and for inputs, we have not done that. So we have to invest in innovations, in trying to find alternative ways to do use fertilizers, and especially in reducing the waste in fertilizers.